Matthew. Yeah. So Matthew is considered the wonderful and great book of Gospels. Gospels handles the full story of Jesus, right? From his birth to crucifixion, death, and resurrection. And especially the book of Matthew is the first book of the New Testament. So linking book connect the old ones to new ones. Yeah. And you know some about Matthew, right? He was a tax collector, considered a sinner, but when he was called by Jesus, he left all and he followed. And Matthew is one of the 12 disciples. Disciples. The meaning of Matthew is a gift of God. Gift in Tagalog, ano po ba? Regalo ng Diyos. Regalo ng Diyos. And in the Old Testament or New Testament, Iscariot Judah suicided, right? To replace him, Matthias is chosen. Matthew, Matthias, same. Yeah, Matthias. Regalo ng Diyos. When we think of Matthew, you might think it sounds like Greek or not Hebrew. No, Hebrew name. And it is also developed in Spain. We see many people, Mateo, right? Mateo, same. Matthew, Mattia, same. And the targeted reader is not Gentiles, but Jewish leaders. Jewish leaders. Then it explains about the origin of Jesus as a descendant of David, right? Descendant of David. Yeah. So birth story, why is it important? Why? Some birth story, what we call hero or national founder, it is a fake, lying. Now, Korean and founder ancestor, Singapore, is a fake. They say his mother is a bear. His father is came from heaven, God. So ancient time, animal looks strong to make him like a God. They made a fake story. In many stories, but in gospel, the region it introduced the birth story is different. So the genealogy story of Jesus in the book of Matthew and in the book of Luke, it proves that Messiah came as it was promised, it was predicted. That is the message. And then also, now you see Israelites, Jews, they do not believe in Jesus, right? But they believe the Old Testament. To them, they think Moses' book has not related, has nothing to do with Jesus. That's why they couldn't accept Jesus as Messiah. But Matthew says, no, you see, Jesus and what he did is the fulfillment of the Old Testament. And then he came as a king of Israel, as a descendant of David. And then the book of Matthew describes Jesus as a king, as a king of Israel. So when we see chapter 1, 4, Jesus' birth story, and also his test and baptism, right? Then chronicle order by time order it is described. 5 to 14 order by the themes. We know, Mountain of Sermon, right? There are 5, 6, 7. From 8, there are also miracles and the teaching. 14 to 28, almost chronicle order. I don't know, you have some recognition how to compare the book of Luke and Matthew. So it's interesting. You connect the stories together and put each story by time again. And then structure, first chapter 1 to 4, genealogy of the King Jesus. 5 to 7, King's message. 8 to 11, power of King. Healing, making the dead alive. 12 to 15, parables of King. 16 to 20, teaching of King. 21 to 25, practices of King. And the last, suffering and resurrection of King. Tapos na. Yeah, this is for all. And so, of course, do you expect the final exam of the Matthew? Of course, syempre. So, not good. You prepare in hurry way. Prepare for it and our meaningful spiritual food. Alright, for group, you may share, your reading, or you can prepare your special number. Alright, it's for today. Alright, have a happy time to be your leader.